So with the news that True Shikai Ichigo might be genuinely power creeping the game in a more meaningful way than we've seen since, the start of the game, essentially, I would say the only meaningful power creep that has had, I'd say in totality of the game, is the difference between Bankai Ichigo and Aizen. That was probably the biggest gulf. I don't think Bankai Ichigo or Toshido were even close to what Aizen was doing to the game the moment they dropped. And since then, it's been a pretty steady stream, I'd say. I'd say that Bankai Ichigo and Toshido were kind of like here, and then they went up to here, and Aizen was like released right alongside them, and then went like boop, boop. You know what I mean? That's a pretty big gap. So, a pretty big gap, as if like that's scientific, right? I mean, what does that even mean? But True Shikai Ichigo has been sort of rumored to be the next actual power creep jump. And for people and new players especially, this is a big campaign where they're going to be trying to promote the game, get new players interested in the game, get new people to pull on characters like, Yuryu and True Shikai, as well as whoever ends up coming in the part 3 and 4. With all of that sort of taken into account, it would seem that this is going to maybe function as a soft reset for the game. That way, people don't feel so, daunted by the idea of getting into this game that has been out for, 7 or 8 months now at this point, right? With that in mind, I wanted to talk about what... I brought this up during that podcast, a little sit around with Aaron and Giku, but there is a method to teams right now, but it's not really about the total team, it's about pairs. So when you're putting together a team structurally, and you go into like free practice or something, and you're trying to figure out, well, who do I put together? Who are my teams, essentially, right? What you're essentially asking is who are these two characters, right? It's going to be your tactic character and your DPS. Your support, while they matter, are much more generic in their uses. So let's say the best 3 supports that we have so far are these 3 right here. What I mean by this is that they serve their function in spite of the team. So Kisuke, he's definitely the worst in this because he has to take quite a bit of time to do this right here. 1, 2, 1, 2. Then he gets his ult and he's just off screen, which isn't too bad once he's going, but you sort of get the idea, right? Whereas, let's look at the more modern example of Mayuri now, and he's going to do something like this, typically. So, 1, cash out, maybe get the Nemu hit in, and we leave, right? And now we're at like, however many, and we could take it up to a notch, and we could have done this instead, and, gotten the full 6, and then we go into ult, and then we leave, right? So again, that is like the support role. Anything that we want to do thereafter is essentially free reign. Again, we can go back into ults, and we could switch back into Mayuri, and then we suddenly have time to go into Zael again. The reason why, and I want to go out to the main screen instead of the just like in the in-game, so we have the actual full view of the characters. The reason why this matters less is just because they mostly hinge on what they're actually supporting and not so much how they're supporting. The difference in Urahara field time and Mayuri and Zael field time is meaningful, but it's not so crazy. Whereas, we go to a team and we'll just do 1 rotation here. We go to a team like the Slash team right now, even though we do have that Urahara that is a little sticky. Say you want to go to a team like here, and you want this team. It's gonna look something like this, right? So you could go all of these things. That's the wrong rotation, by the way. I messed up immediately. I shouldn't have technique there. So you get the technique going, and then you swatch out, but you go here, and you go here. And in this case, I would have my technique up, but I literally just messed up, but you can still get something like this. Blah, 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 blah. You see, there's a lot of switching, right? Messed up immediately, very funnily, but there's a lot of switching. Now, say you change that dynamic with a character who still is supporting Kenpachi, right? So you're someone new and you have a less than optimal support on your team. Again, like I said, this is supporting Kenpachi technically, but it is supporting Kenpachi in a different way, right? So the rotation might look like this instead. And you're going to see the... So we go to Seto. We go here. And now look what happened. Look what happened. Look what happened. I'm waiting. And here we go. We finally get this out. And now we can go here. Now we can go here, right? So in the case of a... This is probably, like, I would say this is the optimal, like, rotation for this team. You know, the setup. And it's not as if Nelliel isn't supporting Kenpachi, right? But you could tell one of them demanded immediately more on-screen time. The other example of this would be if you're someone who wants to use, like, Gin, for example, right? They're having the Mayuri, having the Nelliel work so well over having a sort of like wishy-washy pairing because they're just not meant to work as totally with each other, right? So you replace them now with a DPS that actually matches like the intent of the character, and it's not only just the like, you know, the actual viability of like the damage typing that changes, because again, like we have, you see, now he's doing stuff and now we can go back into this, that ends, and the moment it ends we get him back, we can do this, we can go into this again, we get a few attacks in, we go into this. It's just that the kit in totality is more synergistic, right? The impale is always going off, the swaps are always very clear, like all of these things work in concert with each other, right? That's the big thing. So I say all of this to sort of say that the DPS and the tactic have a much more strict relationship with each other. It's something I've talked about a lot when it comes to this game, is that the more you actually play it, the more you realize that the support, while arguably, especially for low spending free to plays with, you know, no dupes, while arguably the most important character on a team, they slot in very easily. They slot in very easily. Whereas the tactics characters and their full DPSs, they need some specificity. One of the reasons we're seeing like maybe like a downplaying of Okieta is because his team does not have what I would assume would be his best support now, or best tactics character. Obviously it has his best support because you need something like this. Again, I don't have dupes in this character, but you know, you can get ultimate immediately from this character. You can, you know, go here, swap into this. But now look at Aizen. If you don't have B1, look how long this takes. If I had B1, I'd be able to, you know, go in and out immediately, but that's like the rotation for me, right? I mean, you could be like, well, just get B1, and it's like, well, what if I'm free to play and I don't want to spend all of my resources on Aizen, right? Like, so in this case, we can go to ultimate now, and again, you're seeing like a half rotation here, like kind of. We still don't have that technique or that tactics up. We finally get it, and you know, the story continues, right? So it's not unfeasible, but it does require at least one more tick of setup. Did it not look a little bit more like the Nelliel and Kenpachi? Like it looked a little bit more like this, didn't it? If you really like think about it, it looked a little bit more like this than it did like this, or it did like this. And that's what I want to highlight for people who are starting this game. And what you're seeing is just a lot of posts that are like, oh, you need to just get the best character. It's true, best character, good character, but there is a little more nuance to sort of breaking characters out of their, you know, sort of ceilings. Especially with a character like Nelliel, who is most likely going to be like you know, coming down instead of like rising up. Another example of that would be, of course, Grimjo. Grimjo without his actual support character, or his actual tactics character, Soifon. Oh my god. This is probably the single most, like, apparent one. Let me show you what happens, just as, like, a final thing. Like, if you do not have Soifon, and you want to use, like, Aizen instead, because Aizen's, like, a universal tactics character, it gets much worse. So, here we go. We'll do it just one... We'll do what I consider, like, one full rotation. So, we go here, here... I mean, who we even go into here? I guess we go into Grimjaw. Again, we have to use this because this has, like, no... sorry, I messed up there. One sec. Let's do it again. We have to use that because this has no meaning now, right? Like the technique no longer has a counter associated with it. So I guess we could do, like... Oh my god, my controller is so... Yeah, there we go. I guess we just do that now? And then we do this. It's... Like, we didn't get the gauge because we no longer have the counters from Soifon, so it's like, oh, look how late we are. We almost lose our stack there. And now we're sort of into the actual, like, damage dealing portion, but, like, that's not good. That's not good. I mean, compare that to the actual Soifon, like, the actual Soifon rotation. So this is going to be what it actually looks like. So, ult, splatter, we go here, immediate. The reason that Grimjo was taking so long, by the way, is because we didn't have our instinct, or whatever it's called. Like, we didn't have any of our gates, so we couldn't actually go into our, move. Like, it's so much worse. I mean, look how synergistic this is immediately. You really can't even compare it. And it's just what is going to happen for you as a free-to-play low-spending player if you don't remember to, like, grab the characters that are... I mean, and then immediately, like, it's just right up. It's up immediately, right? Like, look at that. Like, it's perfectly timed. So it's not always so much that, like... It's not always so much that these characters are just the best in class, so it's like a no-duh moment. I'd call that one full rotation, right? It's that these characters were designed to work in concert with each other. Literally every cooldown comes up the moment the next cooldown ends, and every counter leads back in to the next character. That's why you see people saying things like, I can't wait until Strike Team gets a support. I can't wait until Slash Team gets a support. It's because they want that synergy that... like, Mayuri feels like he's providing with these characters. Really, it's just Mayuri is fucking broken, but they want that synergy that Mayuri is providing for these characters, but they want it, like, the color to match. That's why I always say I really don't care if the colors match, so long as they work synergistically with the characters, right? That's all I care about. I really don't care about the colors. This is also why I started talking about DPSs in pairs. Because when you try to compare these characters, like... my capture's broken? When you try to compare these characters in pairs, you start to realize, like, how bad, like a Bankai Ichigo currently is served, right? Because it's not that he can't work with White Ichigo, it's just that Zangetsu has such a clear design when it comes to working with Kenpachi. It's so fluid. Technique, swap, special attack, pull, technique, auto, Kenpachi finishes, counter attack, go into his special attack, swap back, special attack, Kenpachi finishes, counter. Like, this is so, like, manufactured, right? So I mean, all this stuff is going to be obvious to people who have played for a while. I just wanted to sort of explain why these characters work with each other, and it's because they are designed in their space together. If you guys weren't there for it, this was probably the saddest character on release because people didn't understand how good this character was in a vacuum. This character has always been good. There has never been a moment where Soifon was not a good to great character. Always, always, always. Don't let anyone tell you that this character was not good the entire time. She was good the entire time. I'm going to say it again. She was good the entire time, right? She was giving more counterattack support than any other character in the game and doing a brick ton of damage. No dupes really required, though dupe 1, obviously the tactics character do like their dupe 1s. And she was doing all of that without Grimjo actually present. Not to mention that, like, the buff she actually gave to Yoruichi made her staggeringly powerful in her vacuum. But yeah, it's all synergistic. It all comes down to, like, this character not having Soifon, not having access to, you know, on-call counters, which is her whole mechanic. It's so different. It's so different. Even if you gave Komamura comparable damage to Soifon, it still wouldn't be the same, because he's just not giving the synergistic yields to a character like Yoruichi, to a character like Grimjo. You know, these characters can't just slot in on each other. It's about on-field time and synergy between rotations. So yeah, a lot of times I'll sort of say, hey, if you're free to play, I suggested before, Nelliel, don't pull for her. She's gonna be replaced probably pretty soon. Instead, just use Tosin for a little bit, and then in like a month, we're probably gonna get a thrust tactics character, because Nelliel is probably the next on the chopping block. But I just think that True Shikai Ichigo, for example, is going to be a very field dominant character, and I think Nelliel might end up bumping up bad against that character. I think True Shikai Ichigo might look a little bit like Okieta and Aizen, where it's fine, it's workable, but if you don't have this character B1'd, or God forbid B4'd, it's not the same. It's not the same. There's no way you could compare Okieta to Kenpachi and White Ichigo's synergy. You just can't. Yeah. That's gonna do it for me, though. Sorry I'm a little congested today. Allergies are acting up, but yeah, I've been Lone. Like if you like the video, subscribe to it, and